We're here, by the way, with Steve.
Yep.
Huff.
Steve Huff Motorsports.
Huff Motorsports.
Yeah,
he's doing
E-Spec race cars. Brought out our electric car this week to do some testing, but more importantly, to be the first electric car to go over 225 mile. We set a record here last year with we brought it out for our shakedown passes. We ran 180 miles an hour, 750, 180, right down this track here for Livingston's. I set my first national record here in 1997 at 180 on a Nitro Harley, and set my last one here last year, and now we're here to go 200. So
very cool.
This is a car manufacturer called E-Spec Race Cars. All of my cars are the same, whether they have an electric motor. We put small block Chevys sideways. We put 2-liter turbo Fords, 2.3 turbo sideways. This model, I extended the rear superstructure about 48 inches to put this battery in. Typically our cars are 180-inch wheelbase, but we needed room for a battery, so we made some new CAD files and stretched it on out. The difference between my 180 pass and what we're going to do this time, we've upgraded the motor. Now we have 1,200 pound-feet of torque. Before we had 800. Before it was a high gear system, no transmission. Now Scott Owens made me a couple of transmissions, so they got Lenco or B&J. So 2 2-speeds, we got a 3-speed. Go around this side, and you look at this side of how I handle our drivetrain system. This looks like the belt drive of a Top Fuel Harley because it is. It's the same belt drive, the same clutch setup as any Top Fuel Harley ever. So we have 17 years of data on our clutch system. Got Steve Vickers here from Hawaii Racing. You see them out at the Nationals every weekend. They're on all the fast bikes. That clutch has 9 fingers on it. We use 3 stages, flow control valves. It's the same thing as a Top Fuel or alcohol clutch. We've got a Cannon, flow control, timers, frictions and floaters. We run 6 frictions, 7 floaters in our basket. Ace makes our clutch plates. I mean, it's if you watch it come apart, you'd recognize it. Blowing clutch dust everywhere. We've made a 48-pound flywheel on here. So we launch on a button. It's the only electric car so far that's got a clutch in it. And it's proof of concept, and we know that it works.
What do you use that for?
This radiator from Ron Davis cools these controllers. These are AC inverter controllers. So we started here with the meat of the car, an 800-volt battery with 1.6 megawatts of energy. That's 1.6 million watts. We have a backup battery in the trailer. Combined, it's 3.2 million watts of power, which is 1/3 of the amount of power on the U.S. Navy's first nuclear submarine. That's enough power to light based on average U.S. household consumption, we can light 5,000 homes for 10 seconds. Or run 5,000 homes for 10 seconds.
How long does it take you to charge it?
We've had this one on the charger for the last 2 days, but we're doing to charge each cell. Each cell is being monitored. They're all charged simultaneously, but we monitor each one of them while we're doing it. There are 192 rows of cells wired in series. So each one of these slots is a 4-volt cell. This is Derek Barter of High Tech Battery Systems. Derek designs and builds these batteries. Right here, which you see him plug in, this is a BMS system, so we'll monitor this row. This one will monitor this row, so we can monitor the quadrants. So we know if there's a problem cell, we know where it is. Each one of these racks contains 5 individual cells wired in parallel, so it's still 4 volts. And then we take each 4-volt pack and start wiring them in series. It goes 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, etc. So all the way up to get the most positive, most negative. That's 800 volts. We pull off of that with these controllers 1,400 amps at 800 volts. And this inverts it to AC electricity 3-phase. So we go in DC 800 volts. We go out 800 volts AC 3-phase, 700 amps each leg. And what I mean by that, there's actually 2 motors inside this one case. That's why there's 2 controllers. They're programmed. We just left Reinhardt Motion Systems. We did our final programming. They're right up here in Wilsonville. They built these controllers. That motor was designed by a gentleman, a former MIT professor that now lives in Switzerland. It's a different take on motors. We produce about 1,000 pound-feet of torque, 6,000 at 1 RPM, and at 6,000. 1,280 pound-feet. We go through our primary with a bit of a gear ratio on it. We're running a 1.7 to 1 first gear, a 1.2 to 1 second gear, and then of course 1 to 1 final. We turn out all this chain. It's the same thing as I ran on my Top Fuel Harley. So we're gonna see what the hell happens. This air tank, of course, dumps the air out of that Owens. Scott Owens just made those transmissions for me. This air tank runs all of the clutch timers and flow control. The radiator cools these motor controllers. They generate 10,000 watts of heat. Derek, how many light bulbs is 10,000? Well, it's beat 2,000 light bulbs. Yeah. So that's be like running 1,000 light bulbs at once. Just the heat that comes off of it. So we have to manage the heat in every vehicle. And it's just like anything, man. Heat is IC engines. It's a heat pump. More heat we can make, more power we make. We try and keep all this contained, but yeah, some big AC stuff there.
How many passes do you get out of the batteries?
We could go through the day, but we charge them out in between each round, spend about 15 minutes topping them off and making sure nothing got hurt. The back half of these, like I said, all of my cars, we transverse mount things, so there's no torsional loading on any of the chassis. You never have to back half a car. If you wanted to put a small block Chevy in here, we just change the bolt pattern. We bolt up a small block Chevy. If you've got a 2.3 liter turbo Ford, we just change the bolt pattern and we bolt it out. So we get pretty universal with the cars. The cages, all of our cages are $5.99 cages. So until you start running faster than $5.99, you don't have a problem. Race pack, full race pack acquisition, smart wire stuff, V300, all CAN bus solution. No throttle cable, throttle by wire. Pretty basic brake setup. We have two, left side and a right side. Slip joint chassis, so we can control some body arch inside of it. We run a 48-inch front wing. 48-inch front wing, a one-piece aluminum body. That's kind of it. We launch on a button, two-step.
Man, I look forward to seeing that.
We'll launch. We're going to be doing some shakedown stuff today, but by tomorrow we should be launching at 4,800 RPMs. Good. Launch on the 4,800 on the two-step. It'll be floored. Knock it off. It'll bounce up to 6,000. Clutch timers will start coming in, digging it down, and pulling it down, and try and get this whole hot rod down the track. Weighs about 1,800 pounds. So.
Would you say it's more manageable, or how different than the gas-powered one? Because the power comes in differently. It's instant.
It's all instant, but with the clutch, I mean, when you're launching at, if you're launching your car at 6,000 RPMs, it's not much different. It's actually a little lazy with the slider clutch compared to full lockup deal and a foot pedal, or some are flashing converters and launching on a trans brake. This is it's a slider clutch. It's hard to red light, and it's right over there. Unless we throw all the weight at it, it's not going to spin the tires. We got a pretty good weight balance in here. So hopefully we're running with some 60 foots. In the big scheme of things, that's not a lot. Our Pro Stock bike runs 90s. Yeah. So we can run. If we're running 120s today, I'd be happy. But it pulls out the back a lot like a turbo car. It's not a lot to do with necessarily just the motor, but the fact that the torque curve's flat, and it accelerates as hard at the big end as it does at the small end. So that allows us to get the car and the chassis set up right here, at the start. We're not shocking anything and getting off sideways or crooked. We get a good launch, and Livingston does and Joey, they do such a great job out here at this track. I mean, I run this track a lot of times, man, and there's not many better. And being transverse mounted, there's no torque steer, there's no torsional loading, there's no frame twist. It just drives like a little slot car.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this thing run, man. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it should be. It should be something. We've got
very cool.
I got to finish up some shifter switches. Got to get into the race pack. I've got a couple of programs, a little bit of programming to do. A couple terminated wires. We've got assign pins to. We'll get to that. We've got a, here I go talking all this shit.
Yeah.
I've never even driven a fucking I had another guy drive it the last time. I've never even driven a dragster, but I drive hydroplanes and top fuel Harleys.
Yeah, it's fun. I drove them.
So dragsters are, I'm not going to say they're easy, but there's not a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
Transverse mounted and not a tremendous challenge. You got 2 parachutes on the back of them.
Yeah.
Our goal is to be the first electric vehicle in history to go 200
In a quarter.
In the quarter, yeah.
Man, that'd be sick.
Yeah, we've got the AC
Very
record
sick.
right now at 180, but again, we've got double the power that we set that with. So when that's about what it takes, if you start doing the math.
Yeah.
You'll never make a 180 car into a 200 mile an hour car. You better start over, man. You better throw some lot more power at it.
Right on, man. Well, I wish you guys luck. Thank you for the information.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to seeing this thing run.